Good evening, everyone. My name is Shelby Harrell, and I'm from the Mountaineer. Thank you for being at the Mountaineers Candidate Forum that showcases those running for municipal offices in Canton. Again, this year, the Mountaineer has partnered with Pisgah High School to help come up with questions for the candidates. Caroline Paris, Gracelyn Woods, and Jordan Taylor will be posing questions this evening, and Cheyenne King will be the timekeeper. When Cheyenne raises the yellow flag, speakers will have 10 seconds left, and then the red signals that time is over. Tonight's forum will kick off with Alderman Zeb Smathers, who is running unopposed for mayor.
Good evening. First off, I'd like to thank the Mountaineer, Pisgah High School, and everyone in attendance here tonight for taking some time out of a cold Monday evening to hear from two of the four candidates who will be your next alderman for the town of Canton. I am running unopposed, but it's still important that I ask for your vote. And that's exactly what I'm doing tonight. And we'll continue to do it the next several weeks. I am asking for your vote. Earlier today, when I was told that I had an opening statement, they said, well, just tell us what you've done the last 4 years. I've done nothing. And the other people that sit with me, the alderman and the mayor, we've done nothing individually. In fact, what we've done as a group is just help push the boat along. What happened is we made people in this town and in this region believe in Canton again. What we've been able to accomplish the last 4 years is a we mentality. 4 years ago, many people looked at the empty buildings and said, I don't think they'll ever be full of shops or restaurants anymore. They looked at Evergreen when they needed help from the state and said, I don't know if they're going to be able to get it done. They looked at the empty building on the river and wondered, well, that could never be a brewery. They looked at Camp Hope and thought, that's always going to be in litigation. In fact, someone else may get it. What we've been able to accomplish is we've been able to secure Camp Hope. We've been able to secure money for Evergreen. We've been able to fill restaurants and bakeries and sub shops and a brewery. We've built a new pool. We have decided to be bold when many people across said simply we couldn't do that. There is something to be said for what we've been able to accomplish together the last 4 years. We've been able to send a message across this town, across this county, and across this state that a mill town still has a place in the 21st century. You can live in Canton. You can work in Canton. You can raise your kids in Canton. That's who we are. We're a mill town, but we are part of a comeback. And the next 4 years, we will continue to do that. We will continue to be bold. We will continue to try new things. And yes, we will fail at some of our ambitions, but we will keep trying. It's like Labor Day. Labor Day has single-handedly built now into a festival that is bringing people back to Canton. And I have no doubt two of these four people will continue to be bold. And in this era where you can turn on the news and feel so many negative things going on, I have been proud to be part of a great team that sent a signal saying, in Canton, we can do great things. And that will continue if I'm elected mayor in the next several weeks.
All right, thank you, Zeb. Next, you'll meet the Canton Alderman candidates, who will offer a 1-minute introduction, starting with Carl Courtwright.
Before I start, I'd like to thank the Mountaineer for hosting this event and all of you for coming out and learning about each of the candidates, for participating in our democratic process. When I moved to Canton 11 years ago to be with my wife, I saw a small town with great community but a struggling downtown. Since then, I've watched Canton transform from having many empty buildings to a town with momentum. When my wife and I were looking for our first home 2 years ago, we looked nowhere else but Canton. We believed in what was happening, and we believed in the Canton comeback. Since moving into the incorporated limits, we decided to be a part of the town government, to listen to the direction that the town was heading, and hopefully have some input on it as citizens. 2 years later, we regularly attend town meetings and have been involved in several volunteer cleanup and beautification efforts. Also in this time, I've been honored to be able to speak up for residences and businesses alike that otherwise may not have been able to attend these meetings. I'm asking for your vote on November 7th to be the voice in this community as an alderman.
All right, thank you. Next is Mr. Brent Holland.
Hello, my name is Brent Holland. I'm a 7th generation Canton native. My family's been here since the late 1770s. I share a vision with Canton to continue to bring in new businesses and some of the buildings that still remain vacant. I don't know if folks are aware, but there's still a couple of commercial spaces on Main Street and Depot Street that are available for sale. I think that represents an opportunity to get those buildings occupied and continue the growth that's continued. I think we can do that in a way that also preserves where we come from. For many years, I lived here and didn't really have a mind towards the past. I realize now that there's a way to do both. When it comes to the cemetery, for example, some of those graves are 200 years old, and they're being allowed to just disintegrate into the ground. So I think that we can do both, attract new business while still preserving our past.
Thank you. All right, Mr. James Markey.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming here tonight, and special thanks to all of you for helping to put this event on. I'm James Markey, and I've lived in Haywood County for the past 15 years, serving in the Canton community in a variety of ways, as a teacher at Canton Middle School and in ministry with our local churches. I'm running for Canton Alderman because I care very deeply about the future of this town, and I'm committed to doing all I can to help that we navigate the positive momentum that has taken place in the recent history. In saying this, we should express our thanks to the town leadership for the hard work that they have done to bring us to where we are right now in the way of bringing in new businesses, the continued upgrading of improvements of our beautiful spaces, such as our new pool that we are very excited about, and the work that's been done to make our streets and sidewalks better than I've seen them look since I've been here. So again, thank you all for tonight.
Thank you. And Christina Smith.
First, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for coming out tonight, the Mountaineer for putting this on, and the great students of Pisgah High School for participating in this. And to everyone here tonight that is here to focus on a positive future for Canton. My name is Christina Smith, and I am running to be your next Canton Alderwoman. Anyone running for office should be asked, what will you do for Canton? If I'm elected, I will bring a focus on improving infrastructure. That's water, sewer, sidewalks, to improve our quality of life for all of our families. Canton is a place that shows its strength every single day, and we draw from her grit, her perseverance. Now, I haven't lived in Canton since birth, but we live here with my family by choice. I grew up in Texas, where my mother taught me to understand a problem and a challenge, you have to acknowledge it and confront it. So when people ask me what I will do for Canton, I will say I will be her biggest cheerleader and her biggest coach.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to the questions portion of the forum. The first question will go to Mr. Holland. What is your vision for what Canton could be?
Well, again, I look to elaborate a little bit on what I was saying. Canton has come a great distance from where it was 5-10 years ago. Nothing thrilled me more than seeing the restoration in the old post office building. I think that's a wonderful thing that gets to the heart of what I was talking about as far as attracting new things while preserving the past. You have now an event center, but also something that keeps a reminder to people of what that building was, how that building started. I think there's a way to continue to do that with the other buildings that are for sale, attracting, just like the brewery, other small, locally owned companies, businesses. I think will do that.
I think overall, the vision that I believe Canton could achieve is when people think of Canton, they think of opportunity. They think of a place where they can raise their family, just like we are going to be doing with my young son. They see it as a place where they can grow up to have a high quality of life with access to employment and recreation that's safe, and you can go and enjoy it with your family and friends. And I think most importantly, they see it as a place where they can come back. I look at the high school students and I think about where will they be in 10 years? I want it to be a place for the future, so when they think back on where they want to raise their families, they see Canton as a place for opportunity that they want to return and give back to.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Markey, what is your vision for what Canton could be?
Well, I agree a lot with what Christina said. I do see a lot of what we have already is the future. Zeb's talked a lot about a Canton comeback, and I think there's no greater time to be in the position that the four of us find ourselves in, because we're looking at a town that is on the rise again. And we have people in this town that are investing and believing in what's already taking place. When you have the Labor Day Festival making news all over this region and afar, that speaks to the hard work that has already been done. And I see this town becoming a place not only that people just move to because it's an inexpensive place in this region, but that people move here because this is where you want to raise a child. This is where you want your family to be. And as we stay true to who we are and our values of hard work and hospitality, we can join together and build this bright future together.
Okay, thank you. And now, Mr. Courtwright.
My vision for Canton is one that has a vibrant downtown, one that has sustainable programs and festivals, one that is local focused, focuses on people that live here, that work here, that play here, and one that focuses on some of our more vulnerable citizens, which includes, the elderly, and we just have good programs in place that takes care of these people. We are a community. We are a place where we can take care of one another and we can discuss things together, and that's what I see for us.
The second question goes to Mr. Markey and will be posed by Caroline Paris.
Good evening. My name is Caroline Paris. I'm 17 years old and I'm a student at Pisgah High School. My question is, Canton has been growing economically over the past 4 years. How do you plan to continue this growth so that young people like me would want to come back here?
I am so glad that you asked that question, because in finishing what I was saying, as I've been talking with people out in the community, one of the big things that I keep hearing is we need more young people. And I mean, it's some of our senior folks that are telling us this, both at different events that I've been to and through our church. We just want to make this place that is a viable place to have young families. And as we bring in the new businesses, we want to make sure that we are serving all levels, all generational levels. And I think the future is in making sure that we have not only people's living situation here, but their social and their family, so that they're playing here just as well as living here. And they may have to work somewhere else for the short term until we have many, many new businesses to support our own economy. But in the short term, we'll be able to bring those young families.
And Ms. Smith, Canton has been growing economically over the past 4 years. How do you plan to continue this growth so that young people like me want to come back here?
Thank you, Caroline. I think the key word here is sustainability. We have fabulous businesses that have seen where Canton is going. We have the soap shop, we have the sandwich shop, we've got a lot of restaurants and the brewery, of course, in town. But we have businesses that we need to continually support. I think continuing to build on the economic development lies in making sure that we can maintain those businesses downtown and grow the businesses that are currently here. I think we need to make sure that they have the support that they need and the resources in place to know that the town wants them here and wants to keep them here, and develop strategies to make sure that they have the things that they need, like foot traffic and festivals and items like that.
Mr. Holland?
Yes. Are you Courtney's daughter?
I am.
Okay, I went to high school with her, so. Unfortunately, I feel personally also the plight of high school students in that I did not go back to college till I was 34. And coming out of college, it's unimaginable to me to come out with an undergraduate degree and be in respiratory therapy, but be, almost $40,000 in student debt. I think the way our system is set up, that's something that's handled at a national level. However, I think that if we make the town accessible, working water fountains and the like, then people, after they get out of college, I had to, go to UNC Charlotte, but after they get out of college, they're going to want to come back because this is where their roots are. This is going to be their Main Street USA. This is going to be where they have roots. This is where they're going to have family. And if they get some tuition assistance on the national level to where students aren't saddled with that much debt coming out of college, then they're naturally going to want to come back, and they're going to be able to come back in more professions than just healthcare.
Mr. Courtwright?
To kind of echo what Christina said, giving businesses tools and as a board sending a message that we're supportive of these businesses and that we are supportive as a community and we try to shop locally. And I would like to see us continue the economic incentives that the current board has done now. And we can also listen to the community, listen to the businesses, listen to what their people are telling us, what they need, and then let's see if we can find a solution for that.
The third question, we'll start with Ms. Smith. What is the biggest issue facing Canton?
Truthfully, I think one of the biggest issues facing Canton is we have a crisis in the county, and Canton is not immune, and that's opioid abuse. And this isn't something that we can take lightly. We all know that this is an issue across the county and the region and the country. And I think the town of Canton can work with other municipalities as well as the county to come together and identify how we can work together to address this massive issue. Another big thing is I believe the town of Canton can help address that by supporting some of the amazing schools that we have right here in town. They have phenomenal vocation programs. They have programs that help people go on to college, of course. And I think by showing people the roads and the options that they have, give them hope and can deter them from going down that road.
All right, Mr. Holland?
Saddled alongside that opioid abuse is healthcare in general. I think one of the biggest challenges facing any organization or company that is in charge of a budget would be healthcare costs. Again, as I stated, I'm a respiratory therapist and a specialist in neonatal and pediatrics, and it's impossible to for a young couple to go to the hospital and have a child if they don't have adequate healthcare insurance. The cost is astronomical. When they have healthcare insurance, then it falls back to those cities and organizations and companies to fund that. And so I think that overall in general, it's going to be the overall cost of healthcare. And so I think it comes down to a matter of budgeting adequately to cover the healthcare cost of all the city employees.
Mr. Courtwright?
I would agree with Christina. I mean, opioid abuse is a major problem in our county. There's drug issues. One of the reasons my wife and I left the unincorporated limits of Canton was because of that problem. I'm happy to say things seem to be better here in town, but there's certainly a lot of things that we can do. I believe Canton also has a perception. Whenever you talk to people from Asheville, we're known for the paper mill. And that's a great thing. The paper mill has been able to provide a lot of great jobs. But we need to set the narrative for people outside of this town to show them that we're more than just a paper mill. We are a great town with a lot of great local shops like Maddie's, the soap shop. the Southern Porch, J Rose, the brewery. We're a town with momentum, and we need to sell that vision.
Okay. And Mr. Markey?
I think the biggest thing facing this board will be ensuring that life in Canton is sustainable, that we are providing a living wage to our town employees, to the people who build and maintain and protect our town. I know that the town has done a great job of doing what they can, and I think, when we talk about the opioid crisis, we need police on the ground that are equipped to help not just arrest people, but to help support the programs that are going to get people off drugs when they get arrested, so that they don't just continue the cycle. And I know there's a lot of great programs in our town that are dealing with that. We just need, as a town, to support those and to draw them in even more and say, how can we help you do the good work that you're already doing?
Thank you. We'll begin with Mr. Courtwright, and it will be posed by Gracelyn Woods.
Hi, I'm Gracelyn Woods. I am 16 and I'm a junior at Pisgah. My question is, if elected, which specific areas in Canton do you seek to improve?
So first, I'd really like to start with some recreation. I'd like to see more focus brought to our downtown. We did a great study, the bike and pedestrian plan. There was a lot of great projects that came from that, and I'd really like to see some of those put into place so we can have more foot traffic downtown, so we can have people walking around downtown and patronizing the shops. I'd like to see us start improving Camp Hope. We have a really beautiful place up there, and we have a place that could actually generate revenue for our town, and it would be a great location to host some little regional festivals, and it would be a jewel of the greater Smoky Mountains.
Thank you. Mr. Markey?
I think Carl hit it on the nose with Camp Hope. I see in the future that being a major project that we're going to have to undertake as a town, because it is too wonderful out there to not use it. That being said, I think the biggest issue we need to focus on is the infrastructure. The water mains, we seem to have water mains that we have to continue chasing in this town. And my wife, we've been married about a year, and she is not from the area, and it's hysterical to ride with Bethany when we come into town because she's always hitting that recirculate button. As soon as she sees the smoke, she associates it with the smell. And I'm sure all of you have noticed we have a bit of an odor here sometimes. But I know that there are ways to mitigate that. We may not be able to erase it, but that is a huge thing that I know a lot of people in this town would love to see improved, and our water system, of course.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
To echo what has already been said, one of the biggest opportunities, I believe, is a revenue generating one, and that's Camp Hope and the Colonial. A big part of the job that I do every day as a marketer is I get to tell your story. And I believe that the stories for the Colonial and Camp Hope are not done. We have opportunities to improve the infrastructure within Camp Hope, and I think we need to take a deep dive and look and see what opportunities we have to build on the wonderful facilities they have there now, and then look toward the cabins and areas where we can rent those spaces out and make it a place for the community and a place for people to come and enjoy the town of Canton.
Thank you. Mr. Holland?
I remember when I was about 3 or 4 years old, standing at Jack's Five and Dime and watching the building across the street burn down. And we've joked about it prior to, but the water fountains in town, they're still there. They don't work. Not a single one of them, I think, work. It would be nice to have those working. It's going to promote more foot traffic if people go to the water fountain and it works. In addition to that, not to get back on the cemetery, but it would be nice as well if the flag was actually flown per the flag code and underlit the way it's supposed to be or taken down. There's a lot of damage done by industrial mowers to the cemetery that I think could be avoided. Also, I think as far as attracting some recreation, there's no, if you go to Asheville now and cross the Smoky Park Highway Bridge, you do not cross that bridge unless you see rafters and tubers going down the French Broad River. There's no reason why the upper parts of the Pigeon River can't be used in the same way, and they would be ended right there at about the edge of town, where they could then take advantage of the downtown area, restaurants, and water fountains.
Thank you.
Canton has a rich history and lofty economic ambitions. Some are afraid that economic development may trample that rich history. How will you go about balancing the two?
I think one of the greatest assets that we have in town is the Historical Museum. If anyone wants to get a better understanding of the history of Canton, they need to look no further than the museum downtown. The museum downtown virtually works with no budget and all donations. And speaking down there, whenever I was researching my own family history, they said that they could benefit greatly from a $400 subscription to Ancestry.com. So I think, again, it's one of the hallmarks of why I'm running is because I don't like the fact that a lot of the history is being forgotten. Economic development is great, attracting new businesses is great, but there's not a lot of businesses in town that can support more than a handful of employees. So I think, therefore, all the people who live here can benefit greatly from going back and looking at the history of the town and looking into their own roots, which is going to make them be more attached to the town in general.
Okay. Ms. Smith?
So one of the areas I would like to focus on, if I'm lucky enough to be elected, is talking about Canton's unique and rich story. And that story belongs to all of us, and that's not something that we can simply forget. One of the things that made Canton successful is it had resources in town, amenities in town that worked for the people of Canton. And that's how we balance economic development with its history. We remember what worked for us, and now we honor our history, and we make sure that people are taken care of, and we evaluate what amenities people need now. And so we need to make sure we don't forget where we came from, and giving people what they need for the future to want to be here.
Okay, Mr. Markey?
Well, change is inevitable. You know, sometimes, every day we wake up, we're different than we were yesterday. And sometimes the changes that occur are jarring, like a burning building. But most often, it's more of a subtle, gradual, nuanced change. And we can look around this town and see that it has changed. And you can have conversations with people, and most people are excited about it. And some people may be not as receptive to it. I think it's important as town leadership to listen to all of those voices and not just forge ahead with your own agenda because you think it's right. This town was built on a heritage of hard work and community, and we have to continue to be that community moving forward by listening to the voices of people who built this town, who are the heritage and the legacy that we are enjoying today.
Thank you. And Mr. Courtwright?
When you talk about having economic development and a history, my point is why can't you have both? I came from a very small town in upstate New York that was incorporated in the late 1700s. It has a very vibrant downtown now that it did not used to have, but it has respected its history to set up historical districts. It has a history walk through town with plaques and memorials all over town to celebrate the history of the town. You know, we see some of that here now. When you look at the building next to Southern Porch, that was the old post office, and they've decided to honor that building with the old post office sign. Things like that, we don't have to lose where we've been to keep moving forward.
Can I add something?
Sure.
This past Saturday, to echo everybody up here, the museum hosted a self-walking tour. My son and I went, and we learned all sorts of things about the buildings in downtown Canton. And that's a shameless plug for the for the museum. But the benefit of doing that is that I got to go into a store that isn't usually open on the weekends, which is when I had a little bit more time because I work a 9-to-5 job. And then we went across the street and got to have lunch. And so one of the great things about that experience is that it was able to communicate the history of Canton in a self-discovery way, and while also highlighting some of the economic development that this board, the current board's worked so hard on.
All right, the next round is going back to Mr. Markey. Infrastructure issues have plagued Canton recently, but they are not cheap problems to remedy. How will you prioritize fixing these infrastructural issues?
That is an area that I look forward to learning more about. But I do know that, like in the case of the water system and our sewer treatment, that through grant writing and partnerships with the mill, we can navigate those waters going forward. You're right, it's not cheap or it would have been done already. But I do think, and I was having a conversation with somebody earlier, we know as people that live in town that living in town is not as cheap as living in the county. We pay a premium for our life here. But I think people recognize that that comes with it so long as they know that their money is being spent in an efficient and effective manner. And we all use this infrastructure, and however that plays out, whether it be through a bond or through some other tax incentives or moving forward, I know that we can get that done.
Okay. Mr. Courtwright?
So we can look to our neighboring community in Asheville to see the cost of, quote unquote, kicking the can down the road when it comes to infrastructure. It's something that we need to focus on year after year. And I'm happy to see that the board is addressing the issues up on Spruce Street this year. And what I would like to see happen if I'm elected is, let's take a data and community-driven approach. Let's reach out to people and find out where the real trouble spots are so we can prioritize a list and concentrate at least on one major project per year. So that way we can space it out over time, get the urgent issues accomplished without having to raise taxes, because James is right, we pay a premium to live in town. But I think for what we pay, we get a lot more than some of our neighbors get.
Mr. Holland?
To echo that, what Carl said, we do pay a premium. However, I think you have to raise taxes. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and say, don't raise taxes. I think you have to. But I would also say that, when it comes down to fixing these infrastructure problems, the cheap comes out expensive. I live a block from here up Academy Street. I didn't like getting that tax bill from the city, but I started thinking, I can pick up the phone and say I have brush to pick up or something, and they're usually there the next day to pick it up. So we more than get our services out of it, and that's not even counting the infrastructure problems. So I think to say that we can have it all and not raise taxes, I don't think is accurate. I think you have to raise taxes and you have to fix things right the first time and not necessarily to the cheapest bidder.
Okay. Now, Ms. Smith?
Yes. Just to echo what Carla was talking about, a biggest challenge with our infrastructure is we have spots around town that need more help than others. We've got the board currently has major projects underway to improve a lot of those areas. But for me, what it comes down to is the budget. The budget is a living, breathing document, and that's where you see where the priorities lie. And what we need to do is we need to establish where those trouble spots are, and then we need to build out from there. So long term, these issues are more sustainable to fix than some of the bigger challenges that we're facing right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Smith, you'll get the first shot at this question, and it'll be posed by Jordan Taylor.
My name is Jordan Taylor. I'm 17 and I'm a senior at Pisgah High School. Many students learn by doing. My question is, how could the town partner with Pisgah to help bring learning out of the classroom while also improving the town?
That is a great question. This is actually something I've talked to with a lot of people in our community, so thank you for bringing it up. I was volunteering along with Carl a couple of weeks ago, and we helped Emily, our horticulturist, decorate the town. We've also had cleanup days. One of the things that she's talked about is she would love to have a partnership with Pisgah and talk about ways that she could get hands-on learning with them. She's a trained horticulturist. It's wonderful to be able to have access to a group of students who could be volunteers, who could help beautify the town, who could help understand what job opportunities people who want to work outside can have. And so that's just one example of what we could do in the partnership.
Thank you. Mr. Hall?
In addition to being a respiratory therapist, my most recent position was as the clinical coordinator at Southwestern Community College. I also had the opportunity to serve on the North Carolina Society for Respiratory Therapy as a board member, which I still serve. I think a lot of those things can be addressed through a mentoring program. We do it with healthcare in general. We have mentees who can come to society meetings, who can shadow in the hospital. And so I think that as long as you have an active political body, or any profession for that matter, and students who are receptive to learning about other careers or professions or roles in government, then they can be matched up in a way that would be beneficial for both.
Mr. Portwright?
To kind of echo what Christina said, I don't think trade education gets a lot of spotlight put on it, like IT and the medical profession, things like that. So it would be nice to partner with Pisgah, and in fact, I think Pisgah made some of the decorations that you see around here now, like some of the pumpkins. I'd like to see trade education outside of the school, and then we could also partner with the mill to actually show them trades within there, or even accounting work, or there's plenty of opportunities to partner with the school and the town and the businesses within the town. We have a lot of great entrepreneurs here in town that, you have Nathan and his family at Southern Porch, and you have Jay Rose, and you have a few others. You can learn from these people.
Thank you. Mr. Markey?
Jordan, can I get you to read that again?
Yep. Many students learn by doing better. How could the town partner with Pisgah to help bring learning out of the classroom while also improving the town?
Now, Pisgah still does the pulp program, right? Okay, so but specifically with the town, I think it's important for our community across the board. I taught at Canton Middle for 12 years, and one of the greatest things, and really what drew me in, was my work through the school, was the support that I got from some amazing parents who were so invested in their kids, and they invested in me because of my relationship with their kids. And we were able to achieve so much because we all worked together. And I think that, more than anything, sets Haywood County apart than our neighbors to the east. We still have this firm-rooted community. And through my work with the church, I see the many different ways our community benefits from us all being in this together. And I think we just need to find a way to bridge that gap. And I do think one of the things that I bring to this is my relationships in so many different areas. And one of the things that I know that I'm going to focus on is trying to do what I can to bridge a lot of those communications.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The final question will be fielded first by Mr. Portwright. How does your unique experience/skill sets make you the best candidate to be a Canton alderman?
So I've held many different jobs throughout my life. Most recently, I'm in healthcare IT. I like to take a data-driven approach to a lot of things. I like to get the facts and make decisions based on facts rather than basing it just on gut. I think I'm the best candidate because I have the ability to listen to a diverse group of people. I work with a diverse group of people. I work with doctors. And I don't know if you know doctors, they're fun people to work with sometimes. But fix one of their computers for them and you will learn patience very quickly. I feel between my IT experience, my team building experience, and the fact that I can listen to a diverse group of people, that is why I think I'm the best candidate.
Thank you. Mr. Holland?
Well, to kind of touch on that as well, in healthcare, whenever you have a patient who codes, you have to all be your team player. You all have to know your role, but ultimately at the end of the day, there's one person in there who's calling the shots, and if we mirror that, then that would be the mayor, and we're here to, as the aldermen, to support the mayor's agenda, while still doing our best as our individual roles to protect the patient, or in this situation, the residents of the city. In addition to that, I'm an honorably discharged veteran of the United States Navy, so I'm very familiar with working as a team and also following the chain of command in a respectful way, but also in order to get things done as opposed to continually kicking things down the road.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
I think ultimately why I am qualified to run for alderwoman and hopefully be elected is I've got skin in the game. You know, I'm raising my son here. My husband and I are invested in the town of Canton. A big part of what I do every single day at work is to tell somebody's story. And that's what I want the opportunity to do for Canton. The panel has talked today about the stigma that comes with Canton, and I think we have a unique opportunity to own that narrative again. And my unique skill set gives me that opportunity to bring that to the board. And finally, I am also a very proactive person. You don't have to tell me twice what's needed. So I think one of the big things that I can bring is the forward-thinking and proactive approach.
Thank you. And lastly, Mr. Markey?
When Dr. Lambert hired me in a Cracker Barrel in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, I was just out of college. And I took the job coming to this area, never having seen Canton Middle School. I prayed over it, and I felt this strong calling, and packed everything into my car, and drove on up here and was at a faculty meeting the next Tuesday. And 15 years later, this town and this area of the world has defined a lot of who I am. And as Bethany and I prayed over this decision, I felt that strong leading to be a part of this. And I touched on that a little bit ago. You know, I've been invested in so many different ways in this community, and it's because I love it so much, and I love the people here so much, that they mean so much to me, that I want to love it back in the same way that I have experienced such tremendous joy and satisfaction in my time here.
Okay, thank you all. So that concludes the forum this evening. Thank you all so much for coming out, and thank you to our candidates. Hope you all have a wonderful evening.